The council chamber was massive. It stretched higher than any building had seen on Earth. The walls glowed with a soft blue light that came from nowhere and everywhere at once. Around the circular room sat representatives from 40 different species. Some had tentacles, some had scales, some looked like rocks that somehow learned to think. Stood in the center with his colleague beside him. They wore simple gray suits, nothing fancy. His face carried scars from her years in the military. She said nothing, but her eyes moved constantly, watching everything. Across from them sat Commander of the Empire. He was large, maybe 8 feet tall, with purple skin that seemed to shift colors when he moved. His 4 arms rested on the table in front of him. Behind him stood 20 soldiers in silver armor. "Humans," said, and his voice boomed through the chamber. "The Empire has been patient with your kind, too patient. You have colonies in sectors that belong to us. You have ignored our warnings. This ends now." Kept his face calm. "Commander, those colonies were established in unclaimed space. We followed all galactic laws. Our people have lived there for 30 years. Laughed. It was a harsh sound. "Laws, you speak of laws. You arrived in this galaxy yesterday. Your species only invented faster-than-light travel 80 years ago. We have ruled the stars for 10,000 years. What you call laws, we call suggestions." Several other species in the chamber shifted uncomfortably. Noticed an old creature in the corner, something that looked like a pile of tentacles with too many eyes. It was watching them closely. "We don't want conflict," said carefully. "Perhaps we can negotiate. We can share resources. We can establish trade." "Trade?" stood up, his full height making him tower over everyone. "You mistake my words for a negotiation. This is a declaration. You have 30 days to evacuate all human colonies in the Outer Rim. Take your ships and leave. If you remain, we will remove you." His jaw tightened, saw her hand curl into a fist, but she remained silent. "And if we refuse?" asked. "Then you will learn what happens to primitives who challenge an empire." Gestured to a hologram that appeared above the table. It showed human colonies, small dots of light against the darkness of space. "Your species is weak. You live barely 100 years. You have soft skin that tears easily. You need air to breathe, water to drink. You are fragile creatures playing at being spacefaring." The hologram changed, showing images of warships. There were hundreds of them, sleek and deadly. "We have faced and defeated species far older than yours," continued. "Species with natural armor, species that could breathe in space, species that could manipulate gravity itself. They all fell before us. What chance do you think you have?" Looked at the ships. He looked at its confident face. Then he looked at. She met his eyes and gave the smallest shake of her head. "Not here, not yet." "We will take your message to our government," said finally. 30 days, said, "not 1 hour more." He turned and walked out, his soldiers following behind him. The chamber erupted in whispers. Different species spoke in languages translator could barely understand. Most seemed excited. Some seemed worried. The humans were new, after all, entertainment for the old powers of the galaxy. As in turned to leave, the creature with tentacles moved toward them. It was surprisingly fast for something that looked so ancient. "Ambassador," it said, and its voice sounded like wind through hollow tubes. "I am Al. My species has observed the galaxy for 40,000 years. Might I speak with you privately?" Glanced at, she nodded slightly. They followed Al to a small room off the main chamber. "You should convince your leaders to evacuate," Al said without waiting. Its tentacles were shaking. "Please, for your own sake." "You think we can't win?" asked. These were her first words since arriving. "I think you don't understand what winning means," Al said. "They are powerful. They have never lost a war. Their technology is advanced. Their numbers are vast." "Then why do you seem afraid?" asked. "You're shaking." Al's many eyes all focused on him at once. "Because my species has survived for 40,000 years by knowing when to run. And I know that whether you fight or flee, something terrible is coming." "What do you mean?" Stepped forward. 20 years ago, your species fought among yourselves. The Titan War, you called it, over territory on Mars. My people observed from a distance. Al's tentacles twisted together. We watched how you fought. We watched what weapons you used. We watched how you thought about conflict. And prompted. And we added your species to our list. The list of civilizations to never, ever anger. His face showed the hint of a smile. Felt a chill run down his spine. "You don't understand," said. "They have superior numbers, better ships, more advanced shields." "Yes," Al agreed, "they do, and they will attack you confident in their superiority. That is what terrifies me." The old creature moved toward the door, then paused. "I will give you advice that I hope you never need. When they come, and they will come, show them mercy, please, because I have seen what your species considers acceptable losses. I have seen your history, what you do to yourselves, what you survived." "What are you talking about?" asked. "You don't know your own history," Al said sadly. "Not really, but we do. We have watched every species that reached the stars, and yours is unique. You climbed from a death world where everything wanted to kill you. You survived ice ages, plagues, predators, volcanoes, asteroids. And when you ran out of external threats, you fought each other for 10,000 years." The creature opened the door. "You invented thousands of ways to kill. You practiced on yourselves. And then, with all that knowledge, all that experience, you looked up at the stars and thought, let's explore. The sea-soft creatures who sing and write poetry, we see something else." "What do you see?" asked quietly. Al's tentacles went still. "Survivors. The most dangerous thing in the universe is a survivor who has nothing left to lose." The old creature left them standing there and walked back to their ship in silence. Around them, the space station buzzed with activity. Traders, diplomats, tourists, species from across the galaxy living in peace. As they boarded their small shuttle, finally spoke. "Are we going to evacuate?" Looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there were human families, children playing on colony worlds, farmers growing crops in alien soil, people trying to build new lives. "No," he said, "we're not." Nodded. "Good, I'll send word to Fleet Command. They'll want to prepare," said as she moved toward the communication panel. Al seemed genuinely afraid of us. She paused, her face unreadable. "Yeah, he did." "Should that worry me?" Was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I've been in 3 wars. I've seen what humans can do when pushed. If they attack our colonies, attack our families." She shook her head. "Al is right to be afraid, just not of us. He's afraid of what we'll have to become." Their shuttle detached from the station and turned toward home. Behind them, the galaxy spun on, unaware that everything was about to change. In 30 days, the Empire would learn a lesson that would echo through the stars for 1,000 years. Some species evolve to rule, some evolve to survive, and when survivors decide to fight back, empires fall. New Haven Colony sat on the edge of human space. It was a small world, mostly ocean, with 3 large continents. 10,000 people lived there. They grew food. They mined minerals. They raised families. It was peaceful. That peace ended on day 31. Commander stood in the defense station above the planet, watching the sensors. He was young for a commander, only 35, but he had trained his whole life for this moment. Every human commander had. "Contact," his sensor officer said. "Multiple contacts, 200 ships entering the system." Felt his heart rate increase, but his hand stayed steady. "Sound the alarm. All civilians to shelters. All defense platforms online. Contact the fleet." Around the planet, weapons platforms powered up. Small defense satellites moved into position. And 12 human warships, everything they had in the sector, began forming up. 12 ships against 200. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," the communication officer said. "Put it through." The main screen lit up with Commander's face. He looked amused. "Humans of New Haven," said, his voice full of confidence. "Your 30 days have expired. You have not evacuated. This is unfortunate. I am authorized to offer you one final chance. Surrender now. Leave in your civilian ships. We will not fire." Looked at his officers. They looked back at him. He saw fear in some eyes, but he also saw determination. "Open a channel," said. "Channel open, sir." "Commander," said calmly, "this is our home. We won't leave." Some amusement faded. "Then you choose death, so be it." The transmission cut. "All ships battle stations," ordered. "Engage as planned." The fleet advanced. 200 massive warships, each 3 times the size of a human vessel. Their shields glowed with power. Their weapons charged. They moved in perfect formation, a wall of unstoppable force. Captain Sora commanded the human frigate Indomitable. She was 42 and had never fired a weapon in anger. Most human captains hadn't. Humanity had been at peace for 30 years, but peace didn't mean they'd forgotten how to fight. "All ships close formation," Sora ordered. "Let them get confident." The 12 human ships moved together, looking small and frightened against the massive fleet. "They're firing," her weapons officer said. Energy beams lanced out from the ships, bright blue streams of plasma that could melt through steel. The shots hit the human shields and scattered. "Shields holding at 90%, her engineering officer reported. "Return fire," Sora said. "Standard plasma cannons." The human ships fired back. Red plasma bolts struck the shields and dissipated harmlessly. The enemy shields didn't even flicker. On the flagship laughed. "Their weapons are primitive. Continue firing, destroy them quickly." More plasma beams struck the human ships. Shields began to weaken. One human destroyer took a direct hit. Its shield failed. The hull started to melt. "Shields at 40%, Sora's officer said. "We can't take much more." Sora watched her screen. They were getting closer, confident now, exactly as planned. "All ships," Sora said, and her voice was ice. "Protocol, release safeties, fire everything." Across all 12 human ships, hatches opened. Not the obvious weapon ports, different hatches, hidden ones along the spine of each ship. From those hatches emerged massive magnetic accelerators, and they fired. Tungsten rods, each one weighing 10 tons, accelerated to 90% the speed of light. They crossed the space between the fleets in less than a second. The shields were designed to deflect energy. They were perfect against plasma and lasers. But a 10-ton rod of metal moving at near-light speed wasn't energy. It was mass, and mass didn't care about shields. The first rod hit a cruiser dead center. The shield flickered uselessly. The rod punched through the hull, through the ship, and out the other side. The ship exploded. Then the second rod hit, and the third, and the fourth. In 5 seconds, 40 ships simply ceased to exist. What? Stared at his screen in shock. "How? Their weapons couldn't penetrate our shields." "Sir, those aren't energy weapons," his tactical officer shouted. "They're kinetic, solid projectiles. Our shields are useless." Evasive action, all ships scatter. But the human ships kept firing. They didn't need to recharge like plasma cannons. They just needed more ammunition, and each ship carried thousands of rounds. More ships exploded. The perfect formation broke apart into chaos. "Ground forces deploy," ordered. "Take the planet." On New Haven's surface, led her Marine squad through the colony streets. She was 28 and had been a farmer before joining the Defense Force. Most of her squad were farmers, teachers, engineers, normal people. "Here they come," said her second-in-command. He'd been a school teacher. Landing craft descended through the atmosphere. 50 of them. They landed in the main colony square and soldiers poured out. They were big, armed with advanced plasma weapons, wearing armor that could stop most small arms fire. They expected to fight a few security guards. They expected easy victory. Instead, they found 500 armed humans waiting for them. Fire ordered. The Marines opened up with everything they had: rifles, grenades, rocket launchers. The armor was good, but it wasn't designed for sustained fire from this many weapons. A soldier fell, then another. The aliens tried to form ranks, but human tactics didn't follow their rulebook. Small groups of humans would fire, then retreat. Others would attack from different angles. They used buildings for cover. They set traps. Fall back to defensive position 3, the ground commander ordered. These humans fight like demons. No, said, reloading her rifle. We fight like we have something to lose. The battle raged for 3 hours. In space, the fleet tried to regroup. But every time they formed up, the human ships would fire another volley of rounds. They couldn't adapt fast enough. On the ground, the forces finally retreated back to their landing craft. Half of them didn't make it. Sir, we've lost 80 ships, tactical officer reported. Ground forces are requesting immediate extraction. They're taking heavy casualties. Stared at the display. Impossible. These were primitive humans. They'd only been in space for 80 years. How could they fight like this? All forces retreat, he said finally, back to the jump point. The surviving ships fled. The human vessels didn't pursue. They couldn't. 2 of their ships were destroyed. 3 more were badly damaged. They'd won, but barely. In the defense station, watched the enemy fleet jump away. Around him, his officers cheered, but didn't cheer. Get me fleet command, he said quietly. They'll be back, and next time they'll bring more. On the Indomitable, Sara surveyed the damage reports. They'd won the first battle, but she knew, as every human commander knew, that first battles meant nothing. Wars were won by whoever could adapt faster. Captain, her communication officer said, message from the colony. They want to know if it's safe. Sara looked at the stars where the fleet had disappeared. Tell them it's safe for now, she said, but they should prepare for the next wave. Deep in space, sat in his ready room, staring at the battle recordings. He watched human ships fire weapons that his shields couldn't stop. He watched human soldiers fight with a coordination that shouldn't be possible for such a young species. His pride told him this was a fluke. His training told him to report honestly to the Empress. For the first time in his long career, felt something unfamiliar. Not fear exactly, but close. He recorded his report. Empress. First engagement with human forces at New Haven Colony resulted in unexpected resistance. Recommend additional forces before next assault. He paused, then added, these humans fight differently than other species. They do not follow standard battle doctrine. They adapt quickly. Request permission to study their tactics before proceeding. He sent the message and leaned back. Somewhere in the back of his mind, he remembered an old saying from his people. Be wary of the prey that shows its teeth. For 10,000 years, the Empire had been predators. They'd never met prey that fought back like this. Wondered if maybe, just maybe, they'd made a terrible mistake. In her shelter beneath the colony, a human child asked her mother, are the bad aliens gone? The mother held her daughter close. For now, sweetie, for now. Will they come back? The mother looked at the armored Marine standing guard at the shelter entrance. She saw there, tired but alert, rifle still in hand. Maybe, the mother said, but if they do, we'll be ready. The child nodded and closed her eyes, trusting in the adults to keep her safe. That trust was why humans fought, not for glory, not for conquest, but because someone had to stand between the innocent and those who would harm them. And humans had been standing that ground for a very, very long time. The imperial palace was beautiful in a cold way. Crystal towers reached toward a purple sky. Gardens filled with plants from 1,000 worlds spread across perfectly maintained grounds. Everything was designed to show power and permanence. Walked through those gardens in chains. Energy cuffs bound his wrists, preventing any aggressive movement. Two guards flanked him, their weapons ready, but didn't try to escape. He walked calmly, observing everything. He was a supply officer from a cargo ship that had been captured near New Haven. The thought he was nobody important. They were wrong. Every human in the fleet received the same training. Every human knew what to do if captured. Observe, learn, survive, escape. Memorize the palace layout. He counted guard rotations. He noted which doors required codes and which opened automatically. He watched supply shipments arrive and leave, all while pretending to be a frightened prisoner. In the throne room, Empress reviewed the reports from New Haven. She was ancient by standards, over 300 years old. She had ruled for 2 centuries and seen the empire expand across 40 systems. "Explain this to me again," she said to, who stood before her throne looking much less confident than usual. "You lost 80 ships to 12 human vessels." "Your Majesty, their weapons were unexpected," said. "Our shields are designed for energy attacks. They used primitive kinetic weapons, solid projectiles moving at extreme speeds." "Primitive?" The Empress's voice was sharp. "If they defeated our shields, they are not primitive, they are effective." She pulled up the battle recordings. The throne room's holographic displays showed the fight from multiple angles. She watched the human ships wait until the perfect moment. She watched the strikes tear through vessels. She watched the ground battle where human soldiers fought with terrifying efficiency. "They didn't panic," she said quietly. "Look, even when our ships outnumbered them 20 to 1, they didn't run. They executed a plan." "They got lucky," insisted. "With proper preparation, we can crush them. I request a full battle fleet, 2,000 ships. We will turn their colonies to dust." The Empress was quiet for a long moment. "Leave me, I need to think." Bowed and left, still confident that the Empress would approve his request. She always did. But this time was troubled. She'd ruled for 200 years by understanding threats correctly, and something about these humans worried her. She activated her private communication system. "Summon the observer," she said. An hour later, Al entered the throne room. The old creature moved slowly, its tentacles dragging across the polished floor. It had served the Empire as an advisor for 50 years, though it held no official position. Its species never took sides. They just watched. "Observer," the Empress said. "You watched humans before the New Haven battle. Tell me about them." Al's many eyes focused on her. "What would your Majesty like to know?" "Says they are primitive, young, weak, but they destroyed 80 of our ships." "Sees what he wants to see," Al said. "Your Majesty, I must speak honestly even if it sounds like treason." "Speak." "Don't fight them, please. Negotiate, make peace. Give them the colonies, give them whatever they want." The Empress stood. "Are you suggesting the Empire, ruler of the stars for 10,000 years, should surrender to a species that can barely leave their own solar system?" "I am suggesting that your Majesty should understand what she is fighting." Al moved to the holographic display. Its tentacles manipulated the controls, bringing up data. "This is Earth," Al said. Images appeared. "A blue and green world, beautiful from space. Humans evolved here. It looks peaceful, yes. It is not. Observe." The images changed. Ice ages that covered continents, volcanoes that blocked out the sun, asteroids that caused mass extinctions. "Humans survived all of this," Al continued. "They had no natural armor, no claws, no venom. They were weak, slow prey animals, but they had brains, and they had something else, something dangerous." "What?" the Empress asked. "Stubbornness, an absolute refusal to die." Al pulled up more images. "They survived by being more adaptable than any other species on their planet. When ice came, they learned to make fire. When food was scarce, they learned to hunt the hunters. When disease struck, they built immunity. Every threat made them stronger." "Many species adapt," the Empress said. "Yes, but humans do something unique. When they ran out of external threats, they turned on each other. For 10,000 years of their recorded history, they have been at war. New images appeared, armies with spears, armies with arrows, armies with guns, armies with tanks, cities burning, oceans crossed in ships built for warfare. They practiced, Al said quietly. They practiced warfare on themselves. Every generation fought. Every culture developed new ways to kill. They turned warfare into a science. The Empress watched the images scroll by. Thousands of years of human conflict. Look at this, Al said, pulling up a particular image. A mushroom cloud rising over a city. 70 years after they split the atom, they used it as a weapon against themselves. They created devices that could destroy their entire planet, and they built thousands of them. That's insane, the Empress said. Yes, that is the point. They lived for decades with extinction hanging over their heads. They pointed weapons at themselves that could kill everyone, and they still went to work, still raised families, still dreamed about the stars. More images, rockets launching space stations, moon bases, colonies on Mars. They went to space, Al continued, while simultaneously having the power to destroy there. They are comfortable with annihilation in a way no other species is, because they've lived with it their entire history. The Empress sat back down. You're saying they're crazy. I'm saying they're survivors, and survivors will do anything to survive. Al's tentacles trembled. Your Majesty, my people have observed spacefaring civilizations for 40,000 years. We have seen thousands of species. We have seen empires rise and fall, and we have learned to recognize certain patterns. What patterns? There are 3 types of civilizations, Al said. Those who seek peace above all else, those who seek dominance, and those who simply refuse to die no matter what. Humans are the 3rd type. Our empire is also the 3rd type, the Empress said. No, Your Majesty. The empire seeks dominance and happens to be good at surviving. Humans are different. They don't care about dominance. They just want to live. But if you threaten their survival, they will do absolutely anything to eliminate that threat. Al pulled up footage from New Haven. Watch their ground forces, see how they fight. Those are not professional soldiers. We checked their records. That woman leading them, she was a farmer. That man with the heavy weapon, he taught children. That one? An engineer. They are civilians who know how to fight because every human is trained for warfare. Impossible. Training an entire population for war is economically inefficient. Unless you've been doing it for your entire existence, Al said. They have organizations they call militaries, but every human is expected to know tactics. Their children play strategy games. Their entertainment includes war simulations. Their sports teach aggression and teamwork. Even their poetry is about conflict. The Empress was quiet, processing this. Your Majesty, may I show you something? Al asked. Proceed. The old creature pulled up a video. It showed a human ceremony. Young men and women in uniform standing at attention. This is a military graduation, Al said. Watch what they say. A human voice spoke. The words were translated to, I will never quit, I will never accept defeat. I persevere and thrive on adversity. If knocked down, I will get back up. Every time, I am never out of the fight. That's just propaganda, the Empress said. Is it? Watch this. Another video. A human sporting event. Athletes pushing themselves beyond reasonable limits, injuring themselves, getting back up, continuing. And this? A video of humans in a disaster. Buildings collapsed, people trapped, other humans digging through rubble with their bare hands to save strangers. They don't give up, Al said. Not when losing means death, not when winning seems impossible. They simply do not quit. The throne room doors opened. A guard entered. Your Majesty, the human prisoner has escaped. The Empress stood quickly. What, how? We don't know, Your Majesty. His cell was locked. The guards saw nothing. He simply disappeared. Al's tentacles coiled tightly. When did this happen? We discovered it 10 minutes ago. He could have been gone for hours. He's been observing, Al said. The entire time he's been here, he's been watching, learning your defenses, your schedules, your weaknesses. Find him, the Empress ordered. Search everything. But deep down, she knew they wouldn't find him. He was already gone. Was indeed gone. He'd studied the palace for 3 weeks. He'd noted that supply ships left every evening. He'd observed that maintenance tunnels connected to the landing bays. He'd seen that guards changed shifts at predictable times. He'd also stolen a communication device and transmitted everything he'd learned. Ship deployments, fleet compositions, command structures, battle doctrines, all of it sent in encrypted bursts to human intelligence. Now he crouched in a supply crate on a ship leaving the planet. The ship thought it was carrying food to a military base. Instead, it was carrying a human who had memorized their entire operation. Back in the throne room, the Empress looked at Al. "You think we should surrender?" "I think you should be very careful," Al said. "Wants his revenge. He wants 2,000 ships to attack human colonies. If you give him those ships, Your Majesty, you will start a war you cannot win. We have crushed every enemy we've faced. Those enemies tried to preserve themselves. They retreated when casualties got too high. They surrendered when defeat became inevitable." Al's voice was almost pleading. "Humans won't do that. They will fight until they win or until they're extinct. And before they go extinct, they will take you with them." The Empress was silent for a long time. Then she said, "Is popular. The people expect victory. If I refuse his request, I look weak. If you grant his request, you may not have an empire left to rule." But the Empress had ruled for 200 years by giving her people what they wanted. And they wanted victory. "Prepare the fleet," she said finally. 2,000 ships. Al's tentacles drooped. "Then I hope your gods are merciful, Your Majesty, because the humans won't be." Admiral sat in the war room deep beneath Earth's surface. The room was old, built during the last time humanity thought it might face extinction. Screens covered every wall, showing the position of every human ship, every colony, every defensive position in known space. Around the table sat the fleet commanders. Each one represented a different sector. Each one knew what was coming. The door opened. Walked in, looking tired but alert. He'd escaped the 3 days ago and made his way back through enemy territory. Now he carried a data chip containing everything he'd learned. Said standing, "Well done, what do we know?" Placed the chip on the table. The intelligence officer plugged it in. Holographic displays filled the room with data, ship designs, fleet positions, command structures, battle formations. 2,000 ships, said. "They're gathering at their staging point near the Cygnus sector. They plan to attack all our colonies simultaneously. Overwhelming force. Total destruction." The commanders studied the data. Somewhere, someone whistled low. "They fight like chess," said, analyzing the battle records had stolen. "Everything is precise. Formations are perfect. Strategies follow their tactical manuals exactly. No improvisation, no chaos." "Predictable," said. "Very," agreed. "Can we match their numbers?" Commander asked. He'd come from New Haven to attend the meeting. "No," said. "We can maybe assemble 400 ships. Every colony is sending what they have, but we're still outnumbered 5-1. "Then we can't fight them head-on," said another commander. Smiled, but it wasn't a pleasant smile. "We don't fight fair, we never have." He activated another display. This one showed Earth's secret weapons programs. Things humanity had kept hidden while they explored the galaxy peacefully. "We've been in space for 80 years, said. "But we've been preparing for war for our entire existence. When we went to the stars, we didn't forget how to fight. We just hid it." The display showed weapons that made the from New Haven look gentle. Nuclear-pumped lasers, antimatter mines, swarm drones with AI guidance, kinetic kill vehicles, biological weapons, chemical weapons, electromagnetic pulse weapons. My God, whispered, we built all of this. We built this and more, said. Every colony has hidden defensive platforms. Every asteroid base has weapons we've never disclosed. Every civilian ship has retrofitting protocols. We hoped we'd never need them. But we kept them anyway, said, just in case. Hope for peace, prepare for war, quoted. Ancient wisdom still true. He pulled up another screen. This one showed personnel files, millions of them. Every human civilian has military training, continued. We made it part of education, 2 years mandatory service. Most people forgot about it, went on to normal lives, but the training is still there. The knowledge is still there. You're talking about total mobilization, a commander said. I'm talking about survival, replied. They want to destroy our colonies. They want to kill our families. Then we show them what humans do when we're threatened with extinction. He looked around the table. We're going to lose ships, we're going to lose people, but we're going to win, because we don't fight to conquer, we fight to survive, and we're very, very good at surviving. What's the plan? Asked. Stepped forward. We'll attack the Cygnus sector first. It's our largest colony cluster. They expect us to defend it, so we will, but not the way they expect. She pulled up a tactical map. We evacuate all civilians first. Every man, woman, and child gets on transport ships and leaves. The colonies look abandoned. They'll think we surrendered, someone said. Good, let them think that. While they're congratulating themselves, our fleet will be hiding. Hiding where? Asked. Pointed to the system star. Behind that, stellar masses disrupt sensors. We'll use the star to mask our approach. They won't see us until we're right on top of them. They have 2,000 ships, another commander pointed out. Even with surprise, we're still outnumbered. Which is why we don't fight their way, said. We use every dirty trick we know. We mine the approaches. We use their formations against them. We target their command ships first. We make them panic. And we brings toys, added. On cue, another display activated. A woman appeared. Chief Engineer of Earth's Special Weapons Division. She looked young, but her eyes were ancient. Admiral said, my team has finished the packages you requested. Show them. The display changed to show small devices, each no bigger than a basketball. They looked harmless. Antimatter containment mines, explained. Each one contains 10 grams of antimatter. When a ship passes near one, it detonates. The matter-antimatter reaction releases energy equivalent to a nuclear weapon. We've built 5,000 of them. The commanders stared. 5,000, said. How much antimatter is that? 50 kilograms, said casually. We've been producing it since the colony program started, just in case. You've been making antimatter weapons for 80 years and nobody knew, someone asked. That was the point, said. Everyone thinks we're peaceful explorers. We are, but peace requires the ability to defend yourself. What else do you have? Asked. Grinned. It was not a nice grin. Neural network swarm drones. Each one is small, fast, and has basic AI. They work together. Thousands of them. They attach to enemy ships and drill through the hull, or explode, or release nanobots that eat through electronics. We have 10 million drones ready. Anything else? Stellar compressor bombs. We drop them near a star and they artificially compress the stellar material, creating massive solar flares on demand. Disrupt sensors. Fries electronics. Make shields flicker. You're talking about weaponizing stars, said. I'm talking about using every advantage we have, said. They have numbers. We have creativity. The meeting continued for hours. Plans were made. Resources allocated. Every commander knew their role. Every ship received new orders. As people filed out, approached. Admiral, he said quietly, I saw their empire. It's old, established. They've ruled the stars for 10,000 years. and asked, "And we're about to hurt them badly. Some of them are innocents, civilians, people just trying to live their lives." Was quiet for a moment. "Yes, war is ugly. Innocent people suffer. That's why we didn't want this fight." He looked at. "But they came to our colonies. They threatened our families. They drew first blood. Now we end it, quickly and decisively. That's the most merciful thing we can do." 2 weeks later, the fleet arrived in the Cygnus sector. 2,000 ships in perfect formation. The largest military force ever assembled by the Empire. They found empty colonies, silent defense stations, no resistance. "They ran," said from his flagship. He'd been given command of the entire fleet, his proudest moment. "The humans fled rather than face us. Begin bombardment, destroy their infrastructure." The fleet moved forward. Ships spread out to cover multiple targets. They never saw the mines. The first antimatter mine detonated near a cruiser. The ship simply ceased to exist, converted to energy in an instant. Then another mine went off, and another, and another. In 30 seconds, 50 ships were destroyed. "What is happening?" shouted. "All ships' shields at maximum, scan for weapons." But the mines were small, scattered throughout the system. They'd been placed over weeks by stealth ships, and there were thousands of them. "Sir, we're detecting massive energy signatures," his sensor officer yelled. "Behind the star, ships coming around." The human fleet emerged from behind the stellar mass. 400 ships moving fast. At their head was command carrier. "All ships engage," ordered. "Show them what humans do." The human fleet didn't charge into the formation. They scattered, breaking into small groups. Each group targeted a different section of the enemy fleet. "They're not following standard tactics," his tactical officer said. "Then adapt," ordered. But adapting took time, and humans didn't give them time. Fired, missiles launched, and 10 million drones swarmed out from launch ships, a cloud of death that descended on the fleet. The drones were too small for point defense. They attached to hulls and began drilling, exploding, releasing nanobots. Crews found their ships shutting down, systems failing, life support cutting off. "Deploy electronic countermeasures," ordered. Watching from Earth smiled. "Now," she said. Near the system star, a small device activated, the stellar compressor bomb. A massive solar flare erupted from the star's surface. Electromagnetic radiation washed across the system. Shields flickered, electronics fried, sensors went blind. In the chaos, human ships struck. They knew where the enemy was. They'd been tracking them before the flare. They were blind. More ships exploded. The perfect formation became scattered groups trying to survive. "All ships retreat to jump point," ordered. But had predicted that. Human ships blocked the jump point. They were trapped. The battle raged for 4 hours. It wasn't glorious. It wasn't honorable. It was brutal and efficient. Humans had spent 10,000 years learning how to kill each other. Now they turned that knowledge on an external enemy. When it ended, 1,200 ships were destroyed. 800 limped away, most heavily damaged. His flagship was caught in the retreat. A human destroyer, its shields failing and hull breached, aimed straight for him. "They're ramming us," someone shouted. Evasive action. But it was too late. The destroyer, piloted by a crew who knew they were already dead, struck the flagship dead center. Both ships exploded. In the wreckage of the battle, human rescue teams searched for survivors. They found escape pods and brought them aboard, treated their injuries, gave them food and water. "Why do you help us?" one soldier asked. "We tried to destroy you." The human medic shrugged. "War's over, you're prisoners now. We don't kill prisoners." "But we would have killed you." "I know," the medic said. "That's the difference between us." Back on Earth, received the casualty reports. 75 human ships destroyed, 6,000 personnel dead, 3 times that many wounded. But they'd won. Entered his office. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the... Put it through. Empress appeared on the screen. She looked old, tired, defeated. Admiral, she said, I wish to discuss terms of surrender. The space station floated between stars, neutral ground where neither species held advantage. It was old, built by a civilization that had died out centuries ago. Now it served as a meeting place for those who wanted peace. Walked through the corridors toward the conference room, walked beside him as she had at the beginning of this mess. But now her uniform bore new medals, scars of war that would never fully heal. You think they'll accept our terms? Asked. They don't have a choice, replied. They lost, they know it. Knowing and accepting are different things. True, but they're practical, they'll accept. They entered the conference room. It was simple, just a large table and chairs. On one side sat the human delegation, Admiral via hologram and several advisors. On the other side sat Empress, 3 of her surviving commanders, and Al, who had agreed to mediate. The Empress looked different from the confident ruler who'd ordered the war. She seemed smaller somehow, older. The weight of 1,200 destroyed ships and 80,000 dead soldiers pressed down on her shoulders. Ambassador, she said quietly, we meet again. Empress replied, sitting down, shall we begin? Al raised a tentacle. Before we discuss terms, I must establish rules. Both sides will speak honestly. Both sides will listen. Violence is forbidden here. Do you agree? Agreed, said. Agreed, the Empress echoed. Activated a display. It showed human terms. The Empress read them carefully. You want reparations, she said. 5 systems ceded to human control, open trade agreements, a formal apology, and a non-aggression pact for 100 years. Yes, said. These terms are harsh. They're fair, said. You attacked us twice. We defended ourselves. Now we ensure you never do it again. One of the commanders, a young officer who'd survived the Cygnus battle, spoke up. Fair. You destroyed our fleet. You killed thousands. You used weapons that no honorable species would use. Turned to look at him. Her face showed no emotion. You're right, we did. Want to know why? The commander fell silent. Because you came to our homes, continued, her voice soft but hard as steel. You threatened our families, our children. You gave us a choice between dying quietly or fighting back. We chose to fight, and when we fight to win. We followed the rules of war, the commander insisted. Honorable combat, strategic targeting. Honor is a luxury for those who can afford it, said. We couldn't afford it, so we used antimatter mines, swarm drones, solar flares, ramming attacks, every dirty trick we could think of, because losing meant extinction. The room was silent. Finally, the Empress spoke. Commander, be silent, she looked at. Ambassador, I will accept your terms, but I must ask a question that has haunted me since this began. Ask. Why are you like this? The Empress's voice carried genuine confusion. We studied you before the war. You write poetry, create art, build parks. You seemed soft, peaceful. Then we attacked you and found something else entirely. What are you? Considered his answer carefully. May I show you something? Proceed. He activated another display. It showed Earth, the blue and green planet spinning slowly. This is our home, said. It looks peaceful from here, but it's not. It never was. Earth is a death world by galactic standards. Images appeared. Ice ages, asteroid impacts, volcanic eruptions, plagues, predators. We evolved here, continued. We had no claws, no armor, no poison. We were prey. Everything wanted to kill us. The weather, the animals, the plants, the diseases. Even the air and water could kill us if conditions were wrong. More images. Early humans huddled around fires, fighting with spears, building walls against predators. We survived by being smarter than everything else, by adapting faster, by refusing to die. And when we ran out of external threats, when we'd conquered every predator and survived every disaster, we turned on each other. Human history scrolled by. Wars, empires, weapons development, nuclear explosions. For 10,000 years we practiced warfare, said. We didn't want to, but we did it anyway, every culture, every continent. We fought over land, resources, ideas, gods. We got very, very good at killing. He paused the display on an image of Earth from space, with lights from cities covering the night side. Then something changed. 70 years ago, we developed weapons that could destroy our entire planet. Suddenly, winning wasn't possible anymore. If we fought, everyone died. So we stopped. We made peace, real peace. We focused on building instead of destroying. But you kept the weapons, the Empress said. Of course we kept the weapons, interjected. Peace doesn't mean stupidity. It means hopping for the best while preparing for the worst. We went to the stars hopping we'd never need to fight again. But we brought our knowledge with us, just in case. Nodded. We're a contradiction, Empress. We're peaceful explorers who are also expert killers. We're poets who understand ballistics. We're farmers who know tactics. We're teachers who can fight. We don't want war. But when war comes, we remember 10,000 years of practice. Al spoke up. My species has observed humanity for decades. We concluded something about your kind. Every species that reaches the stars does so by overcoming their nature. Aggressive species learn peace. Fearful species learn courage. But humans, you didn't overcome your nature. You integrated it. You became comfortable with contradiction. We contain multitudes, said, quoting ancient human poetry. We can be kind and brutal, gentle and fierce, peaceful and deadly. It depends on what the situation requires. The Empress was quiet for a long time. Then she asked, what would you have done if we hadn't surrendered? Met her eyes honestly. Honestly, we would have continued until you no longer existed as a species. We would have targeted your colonies, your infrastructure. We would have done whatever was necessary to ensure you could never threaten us again. That's genocide, the commander said, shocked. That's survival, corrected. If someone tries to kill my family, I don't just make them stop. I make sure they can never try again, ever. That's not cruelty, that's protection. But you didn't do that, the Empress said. You could have pressed your advantage after Cygnus. You could have attacked instead you offered terms. Because you surrendered, said. You recognized reality and chose peace. We respect that. We don't want to destroy you. We never did. We just want to live without fear. Admiral's hologram spoke for the first time. Empress, humanity has a saying, walk softly and carry a big stick. We prefer peace. We prefer negotiation. But we maintain the ability to defend ourselves. Your empire learned this the hard way. Other species won't have to. So this is a warning, the Empress said, to everyone. This is a demonstration, corrected. We're not aggressive, but we're also not victims. Any species that wants peace with us will have it. Any species that wants trade will have it. Any species that wants cooperation will have it. But any species that threatens us. He didn't finish. He didn't need to. The Empress picked up the treaty document. She read it again carefully. These terms are harsh, she repeated, but fair, I accept. She signed the document. Signed, Al witnessed. The war is over, Al announced. Let peace prevail. As the delegations prepared to leave, the young commander approached. Commander, he said, at Cygnus your ships fought with incredible courage. The destroyer that Ram's flagship. They knew they were going to die. Yes, said. Why would they do that? Sacrifice themselves? Looked at him. Because that flagship was coordinating your retreat. If it escaped, it would have regrouped your fleet. More humans would have died. So 300 people chose to die to save thousands. That's what we do. We protect each other. Even at the cost of your own life. Especially then, paused, you fought well too. Many of your soldiers showed courage. But we lost. You lost because you fought for an empire. We fought for our families. There's a difference. Its expression softened slightly. Go home, rebuild, learn from this. Maybe someday our species can be friends instead of enemies. The commander bowed and left. Outside the station, human and ships waited in separate formations. But for the first time, neither side had weapons locked. The war was truly over. Stood at an observation window watching the stars. Al approached, tentacles moving slowly. Your species fascinates me, the old creature said. In 40,000 years, I have never seen anything quite like humans. Is that good or bad? Asked. Both, neither, different. Al was quiet for a moment. I warned the Empress not to fight you. She didn't listen. Now she has learned. Others will learn too. You think other species will attack us? No, I think other species will be very, very careful around you. A new saying is already spreading through the galaxy. What saying? There are old warriors and bold warriors, but there are no old, bold warriors who fought humans twice. Smiled slightly. We didn't want this reputation. I know, but you have it now. The galaxy has learned that humanity is peaceful until threatened, and then humanity is something else entirely. What happens now? Asked. Now you go back to being explorers, scientists, poets, farmers. You put away your weapons and build things instead of destroying them, until the next time someone threatens you. Then you become warriors again. Al's tentacles coiled. That is your nature, contradiction, duality, peace and war existing in the same species. Is that sustainable? For you, yes, because you've been doing it for your entire existence. Al moved toward the exit. Goodbye, Ambassador, may we never meet in anger. May we meet in friendship, replied. 6 months later, reconstruction was. Human colonies rebuilt. Survivors went home. Trade began cautiously between the species. On New Haven stood in a classroom. She'd returned to teaching after the war. Her rifle hung on the wall behind her, a reminder. A student raised their hand. Teacher, will there be more wars? Looked at her class, young faces, innocent eyes, the future. Maybe, she said honestly. The galaxy is a big place, but if war comes again, we'll be ready. Not because we want to fight, but because we refuse to be victims. Are humans the strongest species? Another student asked. No, said. Many species are stronger, many are smarter, many are longer lived, but we have something special. What? We survive, no matter what. When faced with extinction, we don't give up. We find a way. That's not strength, that's stubbornness. And sometimes stubbornness is enough. The class ended. Students left to play, to dream, to grow. Watched them go, hoping they'd never need to fight. But knowing that if they did, they'd have the knowledge, the training, the absolute refusal to quit that had kept humanity alive for hundreds of thousands of years. In space, human ships continued exploring, making contact with new species, trading, learning, building friendships, but every ship carried hidden weapons. Every colony had defense platforms. Every human remembered the lessons of the war. Hope for peace, prepare for war, survive no matter what. That was the human way, had been for 10,000 years, would be for 10,000 more. And across the galaxy, species that had once looked at humans and seen soft, weak creatures now saw something else. They saw survivors. They saw warriors hidden behind smiles. They saw poets who understood violence. They saw a species that would rather die than surrender. They saw humanity, and they were very, very careful not to threaten them again. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Some prey, when cornered, becomes predator, and humans had been cornered their entire existence.